Hi everyone, welcome back to this wonderful training series. My name's Leanne O'Shea and I'm from Leaders Being Leaders. Today the subject is self-awareness, and Leaders Being Leaders really does explain it beautifully. This subject really is the essence of who we are. Self-awareness is the foundation of Leaders Being Leaders, and you've heard me say it many times before. Who are you being in each moment? Well, if you fully embrace this subject and this workshop and the learnings from this subject, then you'll definitely be able to step into that who are you being in each moment, because that simply is self-awareness. So self-awareness is taking personal responsibility for your thoughts, your words and your actions, and choosing them with awareness to create the results that you really do desire. And a really good example of that, I'm going to start off straight away with a great example. Either you're at the pub having a few great drinks and you slightly drink too much and your behaviour becomes a little bit embarrassing, or you may do something that you regret. But if you're consciously aware, you will consider the response and stop yourself before it happens. So many people don't live in awareness, and that's why we can be really disappointed in our behaviour sometimes. Or it might be that you just speak really rudely to someone that you love. If you were someone that was living with self-awareness, you would respond rather than react to a situation. So another good example we see many times is that parents just instantly yell at their children. They misbehave, they yell. They misbehave, they yell. That's reacting. But if you were someone who was within self-awareness, you would respond to your children. You would know your values and beliefs. You would be aware of your own behaviour and thoughts, and replace it with the action that you want, and that is simply just better parenting. So whether it's a behaviour when you're out in public or the way that you speak to people, you can respond in a better way if you're fully aware of yourself. So are you consciously fully aware? Do you respond to situations and create new positive habits? So I'm excited to share with you all today. I have my business partner and beautiful friend Gai Morgan here with me. We're going to have an open conversation and share with you the benefits of self-awareness. Great to have you here today, Gai.
Thank you, Leanne. Hello everyone. It's great to be here, and I'm sure you're all very grateful to the fact that you have this wonderful facility where the broadcast can be dispersed right across the state, wherever you are in Western Australia. And we're very grateful to be part of your learning experience. And thanks for having me here today.
Well, Gai, let's look at what we're going to be covering today. Our workshop objectives are: what is self-awareness? And how does the mind work? And how do our beliefs and values affect our subconscious thoughts? Being at cause versus being at the effect of life. We're also going to look at how to release negative beliefs and create beliefs that are in alignment with our goals. And also how to increase self-awareness. So what is self-awareness? As you can see, there's many elements to what you can see on the screen, but for me it's about not living in autopilot. Self-awareness is developed through practicing in focusing your attention on the details of your personality and behaviour. So it really isn't learnt from reading a book. When you read a book, you're focused on the content of what's available in that book. So think of learning as to be mindful, and self-aware as learning to dance. So let me share that with you. When you learn to dance, you don't learn it from reading a book. You learn it from being on the dance floor, being aware of the steps that you're taking, the music, where your feet are going, your partner, the beat, and of course the other dancers around you. So self-awareness isn't learnt from a book, and the tango isn't learnt from a book either. You have to feel it, you have to be aware, and you have to be doing it to learn it. So therefore you have to be very present and very aware in the moment. Where are your thoughts, emotions, words and actions taking you? It takes a solid commitment to change. It does take focus, attention and the drive to make the change, to be self-aware. Self-awareness really is the starting point. So do you agree, Gay?
Yes, I absolutely do agree, Leanne. I do, because the more present you are, the more consciously aware you will become. It definitely takes some effort, and I think that the point here is it's well worth the effort. The difference that it will make in your life is absolutely worth taking that time out to get in touch with who you are.
So let's look at personal growth and what is the driving force of life? Well, in the big scheme of things, the answer really is evolution.
Yes, and on a personal level, evolution is personal growth. Self-awareness allows personal growth to take place. Think about evolution. A tulip bulb, for example, it'll develop until it grows into full bloom, and then eventually it will die. Well, it's the same for all life. It's our very nature as living beings to strive to grow to our fullest bloom, to our full potential. It's our driving force. We're actually happiest and most fulfilled when we are growing, when we're developing, and when we're becoming more of who we are. For each of us, this experience is different, but our purpose is still the same. Without growth, the reality is that living things stagnate and they die. For people, we experience this stagnation through areas in our life which have ceased to grow and develop. For example, we might feel bored in our jobs, or we might complain a lot. We blame, we whinge, we feel uninterested, and we have difficulty finding any joy in life. So negative feelings indicate that you've actually stopped growing in some area of your life. The antidote to stagnation is to grow. It's personal growth. And personal growth means living a life of joy and peace and understanding who you are and what fulfills you. What does your life mean? When you really do have an understanding of that, negativity ceases because you're striving to become more of who you are, and that's a very positive feeling. So that increased self-awareness leads to positivity, and positivity is what is going to help you grow and create what you want.
To fully understand self-awareness, we really need to know how the mind works. We're not going to go into a lot of detail here, but we're just going to give you a very quick overview of how the mind works. You can read a lot more about it in the manual, but it is important. So, Gay, do you want to share with us how the mind works?
Yes, I do. And so the mind can be divided into the conscious and the unconscious. We only have one mind, but the aware part is the part that's lit up when it's being used. So just imagine a spotlight shining on an otherwise darkened stage. The area lit up by the spotlight is the area that we are aware of. The thoughts that we're aware of in that moment are coming from our conscious mind. The unconscious mind is where all your memories are stored, and much of our thoughts, actions and behaviours are actually directed by this part of the mind. And this part of the mind lies just beneath the surface of the conscious mind. We can access this part of the mind and change the way it works. But first, we have to become aware or conscious of what is stored there.
So I think it's important, Gay, to share an example. Would you agree?
Yes,
just
definitely.
To fully understand this concept, I want to share with you an example, and that is that someone who doesn't trust anyone, you know, they're in their adult life, they don't trust people, they isolate themselves, they don't socialise, and they find it difficult to build relationships. Well, the conscious mind does want it to be different. They want to have a great relationship, but how will I find anyone I can trust? And it won't happen, and it's best that I just don't try. And so the memories of the unconscious mind have been stored, and they really do create the fear of trusting others. It's something that's happened earlier on in their life. But the only answer to remove that non-trust is to be aware of those beliefs that are holding us back. So it's becoming conscious of why we don't trust people and being consciously aware of how we can change that. So we all do create patterns throughout our lives from experiences in our childhood, but we can choose to change them. So when we then bring the beliefs to the conscious mind and then we rephrase it. So changing it and constantly working towards removing the negatives and replacing it with the positive affirmations about what we believe. And that's what we call reprogramming the mind. So rather focusing on the fact that we don't trust people, we want to reprogram the mind and change those negative beliefs into positive beliefs. But we have to become consciously aware of why it is that we don't trust people, and that is a process, but it's understanding how we store our memories, as Gay had shared, but how we can bring them into the conscious mind and change them. So I think it's important, and this is a really great example of letting everyone know how we interpret things. So something happens in our life and our thoughts of that, about that event, give us meaning. And we interpret that event and then put an emotion behind it. So let me explain that just a little bit further. People can interpret the same life event very differently, leading to many and varied emotional and behavioural consequences. So for you to fully understand that, I've given you an example here up on the screen. So as you can see, there are 3 different people. We've got George, Susan and Alex, and they all stubbed their toe on an uneven piece of paving in the middle of the mall. But you can see that 3 of them have a different reaction to that one life event. So George thinks, oh no, I'm such a fool. How could I do something so stupid? Everyone has seen and thinks that I'm a complete idiot. Now, what emotional response does George have from that thinking process that he has? And that is that he feels embarrassed, he's humiliated, he's self-conscious and distressed. So he avoids contact with others and quickly returns home. But Susan, on the other hand, she thinks, I could have really injured myself. The council should have fixed this and prevented it. It is outrageous and a disgrace. But her response is coming from a place of anxiousness. She's flustered, she's angry and stressed. And Curtin dealing with people that day, she's stressed all day. So you can see different people have different responses to exactly the same event. So can you put yourself into one of these categories? Can you identify beliefs, thoughts, behaviours or actions that you can change if we become more aware of who we are? So Alice thinks, ouch, what was that? Oops, I've stubbed my toe. Well, I'm okay, I'll just keep walking. And so Alex's response is, doesn't even give it a second thought. It doesn't affect his day in any way. So Gay, what can you share about what, the examples of how we interpret things?
Well, our perception of an event is influenced by our beliefs, attitudes and values and our memories. And all of that along with the emotion that we actually experienced at the time the event took place. So our perception is only our version of reality. There could be many different versions of reality for the same event. What really happened, for example, but let's say there was a car accident and there were many witnesses. Well, what really happened would be described very differently by each of the witnesses. So everyone's version of reality is different based on who you are, what your beliefs are, what your attitudes and values are, and what your previous memories are.
So I think we can see that self-awareness is crucial to live a life without judgment, assumptions, and blaming others. So let's move on now. Why is self-awareness so important? Well, self-awareness is the first step in creating what you want and mastering your reality, where you focus on your attention, your emotions, reactions, personality and behaviour determine where you go in life. So having self-awareness allows you to see where your thoughts and your emotions are taking you. It also allows you to control your emotions. Self-awareness allows you to control your behaviour and also the personality, so you can make the changes that you want.
Absolutely. When you see what's happening, you can choose to change the automatic reactions or the bad habits that you've created over your life. Change them instead to be a response that you choose consciously. And from that, you can be choosing to create new positive habits. So it's a process, it takes time, but it's a conscious decision to do that. Increased awareness allows us to prefer an outcome rather than needing it to be. A preference rather than a requirement means accepting what is and living with equanimity, which really means in our everyday lives peace and well-being. It's a choice to allow what is to be what is. It is a choice to respond with awareness rather than reacting automatically. Sometimes, though, life does get in the way of living peacefully. Sometimes there's so much going on that it really is hard to find the energy to just get everything done, to feel that you can cope with everything as it's happening. You can get yourself into a bit of a state, feel a bit anxious, stressed, overworked, just not sure that you can cope, and sometimes even depressed. So when this happens, what we call this is overwhelm. So when overwhelm happens, there's just too much information coming at you at once for you to feel that you're coping. It's actually causing you to exceed your threshold. So when that happens, what we automatically do is we react. We revert back to our old bad habits and we react. We react in such a way that will immediately ease our stress. So we find what has worked for us in the past and we copy that behaviour. Now that doesn't mean it's the most resourceful behaviour to choose. For example, we yell at a child who's done something, perhaps spilt a bowl of cereal. It's not that serious, but you yell, you feel bad about it, but hey, you felt better for a moment. So we need to find better ways of coping. So unless you're a Zen monk living high up in the mountains in the Himalayas, perhaps in a beautiful cave looking out at a glorious view, unless you're that person, then you live in a society that places upon us rules and expectations about how to live. And we have a choice. We can shun the material world and go and find one of those caves, or we can accept that we really do need money to pay the bills. We've got pressures that we have to cope with. Now, it's a choice, but do you really want to live without a mobile phone or a microwave? So, we do have free will here. Now, if you choose to stay and live in society, what we've got to do is learn how to expand our threshold to cope. The challenge is to learn how to live a happy life where you are. It can be peaceful, it can be fulfilling. We've just got to find a way to make that happen. Now, and we can do that within the society that we belong to. We don't have to remove ourselves, and that's good news. So the way to do this, it's through self-awareness. When we expand our consciousness, we increase our ability to deal with the enormous input that is available to us in any given moment. What do you think, Leanne?
Well, you know that I love this subject, Gay. One of my absolute favourite words is choice. And like Gay shared, sometimes life does get in the way of living. But it is a choice to see adversity as a wonderful opportunity to learn. Adversity can also be a wonderful time for personal growth. It is all in the choice of how we choose to interpret things, to perceive things, and take on board what we need to or what we don't need to. So everything is a choice, and we all really do have free will. So the challenge is to learn how to live a happy, peaceful and fulfilling life, living within a society that we belong in and not apart from it. The way to do this is through self-awareness, like Gay shared. Expand our consciousness, which increases our ability to deal with the enormous input that is available to us from our external world. So what that means is that when we become conscious, we can deal with so much more that comes our way in life, and we can truly be happy and peaceful even when the adversities are thrown at us. And it's something I personally enjoy. Adversity has never really had a huge impact because I've seen it as a wonderful opportunity to grow. And you can too. Everyone does have that choice.
Yes, in every moment we have an opportunity to either be at cause in our lives or to be at the effect of circumstances. So being at cause means to be self-directed. It's choosing your thoughts with awareness by focusing on what you want. It's being at purpose and living life in accordance with your values and your vision for yourself. It's choosing a positive mindset. So it's about being responsible, taking personal responsibility. It's about accepting who you are. It's about living with optimism and hopefulness and being empowered. But being at the effect of people or events or the circumstances in your life, well, that's about living in a sleep-like state. It's about being unconscious and living without awareness. So things like reacting automatically to what's happening around you in a very negative way. It's blaming others, it's making excuses, it's judging people. Judging yourself. It's about feeling hopeless and powerless. So it's like living on autopilot, really. It's reacting automatically as life happens. And it's not being in control of the direction that your life is taking. So, even a sailor or a pilot has to correct the course of the autopilot. In order for them to stay true to the course that they've set. A sailor will have to keep a lookout for other ships or the pilot's looking out for other planes. They have to monitor the bad weather. They have to deal with unexpected obstacles. And this is life itself. We're all having to do this on a daily basis as we head towards our destination. So what do you think about that, Leanne?
I think really simply the slide on the screen explains it beautifully. Can you answer this? Do you want to live with more self-awareness? If so, then everything on the top of the line just means a lot to you. You want to take 100% responsibility for yourself. You want clarity. You want to live in abundance. You want to be solution-focused. You want to take action. You want to have choices. You want to live with love and acceptance. But if self-awareness isn't important for you and personal growth isn't important for you, then are you living below the line? Are you someone who judges or plays the victim or is stuck in a situation or is failing or blames other people? That's about being at the effect of life. But what we want to encourage you today is to be at the cause of life. And to be at cause in life rather than the effect of what happens in life is simply self-awareness. So the manual that we've written for you on self-awareness is very detailed. I think it's over 100 pages, isn't it, Gay?
Oh, I'm not sure of the number, but there's a lot of information in there that will be really useful. There's some tasks there that if you actually complete the tasks, you will start to develop your self-awareness. Or if you're already on that path, then congratulations, you'll be able to continue with more intensity.
So Gay, I think it's important to share with all the viewers, how do we release those negative beliefs?
Yes, definitely. So all of our choices come from emotional addictions to our beliefs. If you have a belief, for example, that money is bad, perhaps you were told so by your parents when you were a young child, or you understood that to be the truth as you were growing up, then what will happen is you'll play out a difficulty with money forever unless you remove that belief. So you are limited by your beliefs, but by expanding them what happens is you expand your life experience. The force of evolution is constantly working to heal you and to free you of the blockages that are caused by holding down unexpressed emotion. Any negative emotion or belief which limits full expression of our talents or our abilities or our full potential will be pushed to the surface, and then it can be flushed out of our minds. But we resist this due to our emotional addictions, and our unconscious beliefs are then held down. We hold on to them, we want to keep them down because in some way our unconscious mind thinks it's keeping us safe. So this is actually why so many people are dissatisfied.
And so what I thought was really important for the viewers, Gay, is just to share a story of a client that I was working with. And the client that I was working with was just living in overwhelm. She was very stressed and anxious. She was feeling that she was fully responsible for everything that was going on in her family life. And she just couldn't come to a place of realising that everything was okay. She was taking on the responsibility of the family, the finances, the business, and so many other elements of her life. And it was very clear that she had formed a pattern. And the pattern was that she had to stay in that overwhelm. She had to stay in that anxious and that fear for life to continue to work, because if she took her eye off the ball, things would start to fall away. And so we were able to break the pattern by implementing new beliefs, but also to recognise that yes, she had to, in an analogy of blow the balloons up, she was responsible for getting air into the balloons, but it was time to realise that the balloons were now full of helium and they were holding themselves up, and that she had to change the way that she was thinking, and she removed the I can't cope and everything's going to fail to it's all working and I've implemented many things now to get the assistance that I need, and recognising that things are working. So it was about changing her thoughts, her thought patterns, and breaking the pattern of the behaviours that she'd got herself into, which are the overwhelm, the anxiety and the stress, and we know what comes with that. So releasing negative beliefs, one is just identifying where you're stuck, recognising the beliefs that you've formed, and simply just changing that pattern. But many people just feel that life's negative, I just have to stay there. Like we've shared earlier, it's a choice and you can change that. So it's all about focus, and that's what we're going to talk about now. So what can you share on focusing, Gay?
Well, what we need to understand is how to go about releasing those beliefs, negative beliefs. First of all, it's necessary to understand what your negative beliefs are. So there's a few ways that you can go about that. We do have many of the tasks in the manual that will guide you through that process. But just briefly, I'd like to share one of them with you now, and that is to ask yourself to complete a few statements. But I suggest that these are best carried out when you're actually experiencing some negativity. It's when you're feeling negative that you will answer the most honestly. So the statements are, I am, and what is the response when you're feeling when you're in a low point? So I am blank. People are, what do you think people are? The world is, how would you describe the world? Money is, what do you really think about money? Relationships are, what do relationships mean to you? And another one is good health is. Would you like to add to that, Leanne?
Yeah, well, I think another way, excuse me, of releasing negative beliefs is really look at the results that you're getting now in life. Any negative emotion comes from what you're focusing on, and negative emotions come from focusing on what you don't want. So to change the way you think, you need to change your belief systems. Focus on what you do want. Adopt the beliefs of people that are having the results that you would prefer in your life. And also, either way, you'll be creating a new map that fits with you and who you are and what you want. So it really is about living in the positive state and really concentrating and focusing on what you do want. Many people in society are too busy focusing on what they don't want, what they don't have, what they can't do. But if you start focusing in the positive and focusing on what you do want, you will start to change your belief systems. So what we're going to look at next is how to implement self-awareness. And I think this is the subject that you've all been waiting for. Self-awareness sounds wonderful, but it does take commitment and hard work. You can't achieve self-awareness from reading a book. It takes a lot of implementation and commitment from you. So there's many things that you can do, but one of them is journaling, goal setting. Meditation is a great way to become aware of your thoughts and feelings. Reading books. Watching and observing your thoughts. There's also trigger points. Now I'm going to share what that means in a minute. It's one of my favourite. Sitting in silence. That can be very difficult to master, but it's something that's taken me a few years, but I think I'm nearly there, sitting in silence without all that monkey chatter going on. And being present. So let me share with you what it means to be present. Well, being present, it really is the best way to learn. And this is to practice when doing really mundane tasks. So when you're washing the dishes, be aware of the water running into the sink. Feel the soap suds, observe the cloth going over the dish. What this does is brings you into the present moment. It allows you to observe the minimal things that are going on in life. It stops you maintaining your thoughts, thinking of all the things that you have to do, the negative thoughts that are coming in and out. Or it could be when you're putting the clothes on the line. Be aware of the noises that you can hear around you. Focus the peg going onto the clothes. And it might sound a bit silly at first, but it's really important. It's about being centred. And when we're focused in the present moment and not the busyness of life, that's when we really start to be aware of who we are and what's important to us. So whether you're in the shower, instead of just having a shower and thinking about all the things that you've got to do and get out of there really quickly, I encourage you to focus on your breathing, the water coming out of the nozzle, the soap suds foaming up, the fog on the windows. When you come to the present moment, that's when you'll start to learn to be in the present moment, to be aware of what your thoughts and beliefs are in each moment. And the other one, which I think is a really great tool, and this also allows you to remember practicing being in the present moment, is what we call a trigger point. My trigger point is when I get into the car and I hear the seatbelt click in. What this does, I'm no different to anybody else. I live a very hectic life, running around. I'm trying to run a business, run a household. And of course the kids have got after school activities. I've still got some phone calls to make, some paperwork to catch up on. There's so much going on in my mind, and I jump in the car really quickly thinking, right, I'll get the kids to their after school activity and I'll get back and I'll continue with my task list. But when I'm self-aware and being present is important to me, as soon as I get into the car, click that seatbelt in, it instantly reminds me that I need to become present. When I become present, I'm aware of my surroundings. So rather than thinking about all the things that I need to do that are going to be there when I get back, and rather than thinking about that I need to be in a hurry, I'm actually thinking about the present moment. So I'm talking to my children, I'm aware of the trees going past, I'm aware of the music playing through the radio. And again, it may sound a little bit silly, but I can definitely share with you that it will change your life. And it allows me to live by my values, and one of my biggest values is my family. So why would I want to continue to live in a rush state? I think it's so much better to implement some strategies. One is I now just automatically, as soon as I click my seatbelt in, know that I need to become very present. And it's certainly a tool that's worked for me. And I know one of Gay's things that she likes to implement in her life is the importance of watching and observing our thoughts. So I think it'd be great for Gay to share with you how she does that and why it's so important to gain self-awareness.
Definitely, I do. I believe that watching and observing is one of the most powerful techniques you can use to implement and expand your self-awareness, because what it does is it's like you're catching yourself as you are performing life. Imagine this. Imagine you're driving down the road and someone overtakes you dangerously and races off into the distance, and you get really annoyed and you yell out, "People are idiots," or something like that. And you do that automatically. It's just a reaction. Now, maybe you're not like me, and I've still got work to do, but sometimes that is my reaction. Now, as I expand my awareness, I am able to watch that reaction as it's happening and take note of it, so that I can make a decision then and there to not allow that negative experience to cloud the rest of my day. I don't need to be feeling annoyed and anxious because there's an idiot in the world. Okay, I don't need to do that. I can choose to just let it be. Accept that he must have been in a hurry, or perhaps he was racing to the hospital to take his wife because she's about to give birth. Who knows? It's not for me to judge, it's just for me to accept. That's my role in my life in order to live a peaceful, balanced, harmonious life, and that's what I want. So if that's what you want for yourself, then watch and observe your behaviour. Take note, keep score, carry a little card with you, and every time that you notice yourself reacting rather than responding, write it down. The more you do that, the more able you'll be to expand your awareness, the more able you'll be to next time choose more consciously. So I think it's a great technique.
It sure is, Gay. I can think of so many more that we haven't even added to the list, and so definitely refer back to the manual. But if you want to email us and have more clarity around that, please do, because we'd love to share with you, because there are so many ways that you can become aware, and it can be really fun. And also really scary when we're aware of just how many thoughts we have in a day, whether they're negative or positive. It's really important to be aware of what we are thinking. So I think it's important to close this broadcast today on self-awareness just to summarise what we've discussed. And of course, well, what is self-awareness? Well, self-awareness is taking personal responsibility for our thoughts, words and actions. And we looked at the importance of personal growth, which really is the driving force of life. It was important to discuss the power of the mind. Now, there's so much more detail in the manual. This is a subject on its own and can be quite detailed, but it's about understanding the conscious and unconscious mind. So please refer to the manual. We looked at the choices that you're making in life and understanding that you can choose to become more aware. Be aware of your beliefs and values. Focus on what you do want and implement self-awareness strategies. We looked at how to implement them. There's so many great ways, but I think it's great if this is a subject that you want to further understand, because it certainly will change your life. So as you know, at Leaders Being Leaders, we like to close our broadcast with a wonderful quote. Now there's one here from Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So, like I've shared many times, please email us. Gay and I would love to answer any questions that you have on this great subject. It is one of our favourite subjects at Leaders Being Leaders. It's very important to live a great life, but to live such a wonderful, happy life, you do need to be aware. So with that, I've given you some great books to read on this subject. And you know how important it is to read further and educate yourselves, and I've shared with you many times the 70-20-10 principle. Only 10% of your learning comes from these types of workshops and broadcasts, but 20% of your learning comes from talking about it, and then 70% of your learning comes from action. What actions are you going to take to be more self-aware? So on that, our next broadcast that we're going to be delivering to you across the state throughout the CRC network is on mindset. A great subject to follow on from self-awareness. So I look forward to seeing you again back at our broadcast. I really hope you've understood the concept of self-awareness and you can implement it into your life. Please read through the manual, go through the tasks and exercises that are set, and I'm sure you'll see some great benefits from understanding self-awareness. So great to have you here with me today, Gay. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Leanne.
I know that the CRC viewers will have loved it. So I look forward to seeing you at the next broadcast. Make sure you have a beautiful day. Thanks, guys.
Bye for now.